Me too. I didn't update any of the stuff, so it said we were talking about Steely Dan the whole time.
Oh, we technically talked about Steely Dan some of the time.
What's this one called? I've already forgotten.
It's called Little Queen.
Little Queen. Right. Whoopsie doodle. All right, tags, music. Music taco. That's a new tag. We got to put
Music
that on.
Oh,
That's
okay.
definitely
That
a
seems
tag.
appropriate.
Rock music.
Yeah, it's rock.
Is there anything else? Wait, why didn't it save my tags? Music talk. Music rock. Rock. Would it be anything else?
Nah. I think this is mostly a rock album. Maybe like if acoustic.
Yeah.
Acoustic on it, but
is there acoustic?
I wish. The tags aren't super in depth.
Well, they've certainly added more. There was not this much under music before. It used to, and the genres of music, it used to just be a couple. They've added K-pop now and heavy metal.
Okay. That's a little more specific.
I'm pretty sure before it was pop, rock, and that was it. Now they have dubstep. They've got funk, house.
Okay.
Dance music. So I think they're getting better at adding tags.
They're up in their game. The intern must have had a free hour on Friday.
Huh?
Their intern must have had like a free hour on Friday.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll toss in a couple more.
Yeah, I'll do that. I promised next time we went live actually talking about an album that I would group me in.
Yeah.
So
Little hard.
One of my group mates was like, why don't you ever send that anymore? And I was like, oh,
it actually got some got a little bit of interesting history that we'll be going into. A little backstory, if you will. Hello?
Oh, hello?
Hey, sorry. My headphones got out there for a sec.
Okay.
So did get hit by a tornado. So that's a good way to start a Sunday.
That is a good way to start a Sunday.
Yeah, read a little bit. Joined a book club, so I'm reading. I just got that book today, so I'm reading that. And,
what book is it?
Oh, The Nickel Boys.
Nickel Boys. Never heard of it.
Yeah, it just came out like last year. It's apparently very sad about racism and Jim Crow era laws. So not really a pick me up, but always happy to read a new book.
Yeah, sounds like it. It's pertinent.
True. This one takes place in like 1965.
Yeah, I only really like reading sci-fi. I prefer to read about fake depressing places instead of real depressing places.
Instead of real life ones. I took the edge off by I had some records I hadn't played yet, so I put those on.
You're crazy. I can't believe you can listen to music and read at
You think I shouldn't be reading it while listening to Jesus Christ Superstar?
I cannot. If even like talking and reading at the same time, I can't do that. Or
I mean, if you're blasting it, yeah. But if just normal volume.
Even then, like I'll get distracted.
I know, I love it. It's like a 2-for-1. Now, if I'm trying to pay attention to the music, then obviously, or I don't do that. But I just have something on in the background. It's pretty easy.
I kind of get that, but still.
Understandable. Yeah.
I have a confession, Cooper. I should probably do this live so you don't attempt to murder me over the internet.
Okay.
Your dodo passed away.
Jerome Jr.?
Yes, I'm sorry.
But I fell asleep in the hut.
Well, the dodo wasn't in the hut, and I went on an adventure, and I single level 1 Dilo spawned and wiped it out. If it makes you feel any better, I found a tech parasaur, which is like it's a dinosaur, but it's like a machine, and those are super rare, and it killed that too. So.
Oh, that's I guess, but
I tamed you a new one.
Okay, that's
It's still a female.
Did she at least was it at least painless?
Probably. I mean, she fought back the whole time. They all attacked, but
she was always a fighter.
Somehow, the 2 parasaurs and the 2 dodos could not fight off a single level 1 Dilo. So now there's a wall of 4 Dilos named after Pratik guarding the base at all times. So I don't have to worry about it.
That's good. I'll always remember the times we had together. Me taming her, me logging off.
Well, she there's a new one, and both of them have laid a lot of eggs. So she's got a lot of eggs that she's hanging on to.
Oh, that's good. Well, whatever. These things happen. We'll have new dodos in the future.
Well, I already tamed you a new one, so.
Oh, but I'll find more. I'm sure.
I'm sure you will. Also, I got Matt his dodo back, and it's a male. So you guys, your 2 dodos could,
Not sure how I feel about that. Again,
that's an option.
That would get us more dodos. So.
I actually don't know what it does. So.
Oh, jeez.
I think Jonah knows he's still streaming.
I don't like the interlacing of those faces. Like the top of my head covers the bottom of yours. Looks like I'm wearing you like a big hat. Anywho. Want to jump into the album then?
Sure, since you got some... Oh, sorry. I'm yawning.
Hey, I should be the tired one.
Yeah, but I am too.
That's my secret. I'm always tired.
I'm always tired. All right, let's get into. Oh shit, I gotta change all this. All right, you want to do the intro since I have to do.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, so welcome back, everybody, to our first official review in quite a while. Like a little over a month and a week.
Yep.
So yeah, we're getting back into it. Now that I'm all settled down, and this week we're going to be reviewing Little Queen by Heart. Now, Sam, are you familiar with Heart's music at all?
The only song I knew going into this was Barracuda, and I gotta say, I kind of hate it, just because it's, I would argue, overplayed.
I think it's a very overplayed song, but I think that's most people's exposure to Heart.
I think I also Barracuda. Dislike it because I associate it with Eye of the Tiger, which I also hate, so...
Why do you associate Barracuda with the Eye of the Tiger?
They have very similar opening guitar riffs.
They're both about animals, vaguely.
No, the opening guitar riff is just a pitch shift of the Eye of the Tiger. Because think start of Eye of the Tiger, right?
You're right.
And then think start of Barracuda.
No. Barracuda goes dun 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 dun. Eye of the Tiger goes. See, completely different.
Oh, wait, sorry. The one I'm thinking of is Just Like a One-Winged Dove.
Just like a what? Okay, those two have pretty similar bass lines.
The guitar line for that and Eye of the Tiger are identical. So, but it still reminds me of that clearly. So it adds to my distaste.
Got an odd brain.
I do.
But no, this is the song. This is the album that Barracuda comes off of. Their best-selling album too.
Because it has Barracuda on it.
That definitely helps because it's got like 200 million plays on Spotify.
That's a lot of plays.
It is. But Heart's actually got a bit of an interesting backstory. They're kind of famous for being like one of the first, or kind of pioneering like the woman-led rock band.
Mm-hmm.
Which, since they were founded in 1970, there weren't a lot of those back then. hell, there are not a lot of them today, right?
Yeah.
With lady frontmen or front women. But funnily enough, they're actually the women who are kind of the face of Heart. Sisters Ann Wilson and Nancy Wilson weren't actually the founding members of Heart. Those were like some guys from Seattle, like Roger Fisher, John Hanna. So they formed that in like 1970.
Okay.
And then they ended up recruiting the Wilson sisters. And then by the time Little Queen was released, the Wilson sisters were basically taken over, where like half the core members had already left, and the other half will leave shortly after this album. So really, Heart's really their band now. They're the only ones who have been completely in it since like 1975.
Huh.
So it's actually founded by a completely different group of people.
So did they make any songs before they got the sisters on, or?
The sisters were added on like 1972, and they didn't release their first album until like 1975. So like they formed the band, and then like 2 years later they bring in the sisters, and then they start releasing albums. But then the rest of the band left after that, and the sister and the Wilsons just kept going on.
So they formed a band but didn't make any music.
Well, they like performed. They didn't release an album.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
Kind of cutting their teeth, so to speak. But yeah, so basically, they were originally called the White Hearts. Now they're the Hearts, and they're known for Ann and Nancy Wilson, the sisters, with Ann being the lead vocals and Nancy basically being all acoustic accompaniment. And like I said, famous for kind of pioneering being a female duo in a front band. They've sold like 35 million records. They've had a top 10 album every decade since 1970, besides like the 2000s, where they like took a break.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so they've been in the zeitgeist for a while. Obviously not like an upper echelon rock band, but pretty well known. Clearly, you don't sell 35 million records for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they mostly they kind of switch between like this hard rock kind of sound and this more folksy rock, which we'll see in spades in this album. But Little Queen was their second studio album, released in 1977, I believe. This one went triple platinum, and they'd released their first album with a different studio. I think it was called like Mushroom Studio or something. But this was an album with a brand new studio that they had just joined, which I'll get into a little more detail with in the song Barracuda, which is actually the first track, so it works out.
Where's the button? There, okay, found it.
There we go.
A bit slow on the click there.
So, track 1, which is Barracuda, actually has a little interesting background. So basically, like I said, their first album, Magazine, Dreamboat Annie, which they released like a couple of years earlier than this, was with a different studio. But the Wilson sisters quickly grew to hate that studio because, and this is real, execs there were making rumors and cracking jokes about the Wilson sisters being in a incestuous relationship, which really pissed them off.
I can imagine.
Obviously. Apparently the song was specifically inspired by one of the execs like talking to Ann Wilson and asking her about her lover. And she thought she meant her boyfriend. He's like, no, I mean your sister. And that, pissed them off. So they left the studio and then they released Barracuda. So, sucks to suck for that studio, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I mean, they had it coming. Like, come on.
I mean, yeah, pretty not good thing to talk about when you're up and coming bands. But yeah, so that's why there's kind of like this anger underneath the song. It's basically them just like kind of lashing out at their old studio for good reason.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, I'm really not a fan of this song. It's got a really, iconic guitar line that sticks out. It's got a good guitar solo at 2:30 to break the song up, but other than that, it's just kind of there. There's not really anything going on in the background. It's not growing. It's not changing. Like the focus is, with the lack of the backing, it feels like the focus is completely on the vocals, but they're mixed a little bit further back than they would normally be for a vocal focus. making it more about the sound of her voice rather than the words. But then it's like, well, you're not really, if it's about the vocals, but you're having it just be about the sound of the vocals and you're not changing it, it just feels stagnant the whole way through for me.
Yeah, no, certainly as like a song, it's like there's not much progression. And it's got a really solid foundation. There's a reason like the song's so well known is that bass line.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so it's basically an earworm, right? It just drills its way into your head. But yeah, there's not much of a progression per se, but it kind of makes up for it with Ann Wilson's performance. I think she's a very good vocalist, where she has this definitive like edge to her voice, where she can really kind of dig into the emotion in like a harder rock song, which obviously pairs pretty well with its very aggressive bass line.
Yeah, I would like to see her mixed a bit further forward. It's hard to pick out what she's saying. She's just mixed a bit far back in there, and everything else kind of comes up and envelops the vocal line.
Oh no, I'm in agreement with that. Maybe a little more should have been focused on her vocals. I guess that would have been Roger Fisher, which was one of the founding band members, was still on this album, as kind of the lead guitarist or electric guitarist. And he does some good work on this song as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of a solo at like 2:30, which is very short. That kind of splices in with the bass line to like kick things up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it immediately goes back straight to just the just the bass line.
Yeah.
Plus the iconic chorus, right? Barracuda. Right, it's kind of sticks
it's not
in
much
your
of
head.
a chorus, Cooper.
Well, there's a build up to it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So as like a song, I'm pretty so on it, but like it's almost like perfectly manufactured just to like drill into your head.
Mm-hmm.
Well, being pretty good throughout as well.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a little bit at the end. It was like an electronic noise kind of shifting ear to ear. That was like, oh, there's actually something happening for once. But I don't know. It's very flat for me, and I'm not a fan.
That's fair.
I don't understand why it's so popular.
Well, it was their lead single for this album. Of course, it's I mean, it was made for radio.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they got the job done there.
Yeah.
Certainly can't say Barracuda isn't underplayed.
Yeah, that's part of why I dislike it so much. Like, at least with, other songs that are overplayed, you can sing along with them. This one you can't really sing along with.
Yeah, I mean, you can say Barracuda.
Yeah, that's about it. not trashing on her vocals at all, but it's just...
Oh, no.
The vocals that are there are repetitive, and then everything else was repetitive as well.
Yeah. But it quickly switches gears when we get to the second song on this album, Love Alive, which is a much more mellow take.
Mm-hmm.
Where, yeah, it's that kind of whiplash between the hard rock to the folk rock.
Well, I'm not sure I would call Barracuda hard rock, but...
Harder.
Yes.
Than, your average, whatever was playing in the 1970s.
True, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, this one, like I said, Anne is the vocalist, and her sister Nancy is the guitarist.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of obviously a Nancy-driven song, because there's a distinctly acoustic feel to it. With her very intricate and beautiful guitar work kind of being underlying Anne's very soft vocals, which I really dig.
Yeah, it was... I was really digging the acoustic sound. I wasn't expecting it. It was a nice surprise. Although that might be because I've been listening to way too much America recently. So I was like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, it's like I guess when was America's first album? Was that also 1977?
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Oh no! Wow, I was way off. That was wait, no, that's a different album.
First album is America by America.
America by America, inspired. No, I'm pretty sure that was 71. So a little before this, but yeah, it's got a little bit of an American vibe in it. And it's also got some other interesting instruments in there. There's an auto harp. Um, it's basically like this kind of standing harp thing, which was also played by Nancy.
I don't know if I picked up on that.
Yeah, it's kind of subtle, but it's definitely in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what kind of gives it a little bit of a. There's parts of it that feel a little more exotic. So and then later in the album, mandolin is introduced. So Nancy kind of switches up with the acoustic accompaniment. And,
I will say the one thing that she didn't really kick into high gear that I wanted was the bongos. they teased them just a tiny bit in like the first half of the song. They would like slap it once, but then halfway through they switched to the drum kit, which fair enough. That's the standard. But I was like, bring in the bongos, come on.
Yeah, the percussion's nothing to really write home about for the rest of this album. To be honest, I do kind of wish they got a little more creative with it. But the it's very American-esque. Even all the way up to the ending where like there's like these kind of angelic backing vocals start to break in.
Mm-hmm.
And just like a long acoustic take. And like a little bit of flute is in there as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Or some sort of woodwind.
It was definitely flute. And I was like, oh, I would have loved that throughout the song. But I'm like, well, now I'm just saying things I want in the song. Like, it's a good song. And I like the flute. It punctuates the end. It's a nice little, cork in the bottle kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a very very mellow folk rock song. And I just think it shows Anne's vocals are a little versatile. I mean, she does a good more harder rock take with Barracuda. And then this one fits very smoothly over where she kind of mellows it down and makes it a little more smooth.
Yeah, it took me by surprise, and I was immediately like, all right, yeah, this is I didn't have high hopes for this album, but they're immediately surpassed. And in this one I really appreciated there was the mix up halfway through, right? Because the first half was really kind of low key, not much percussion going on, just a little bit of acoustic guitar. They layered it a bit, and then the second half brings in the drum kit, shifts up the acoustic sound with some different instruments, and keeps it fresh. And it's not a terribly long song, but it's a nice breath of fresh air.
Yeah, you don't hear this too much in the rock scene, or at least one done to this quality. And it's kind of continued on into our third track, Sylvan Song, which is a completely instrumental track.
Yeah, and I was sold from the beginning with the bird song.
Yes, it does start with like bird song, and like there's like
some frogs,
like frogs like ribbiting.
Wait, hold on.
Kind of general
were you about
noises.
To say rats?
No, frogs. Riveting.
Hmm.
And then it slowly like kind of breaks into another acoustic led song. This one having a distinctly like medieval vibe to it. At least is what I was getting, which I guess kind of matches up with the the cover art for this, which I can only describe as the Wilson sisters looking like they're at a Renaissance fair.
Yeah. And I just got lost in this one because I didn't know how long it was going to be. And I'm sitting there, I'm like jazzing out, and then it just goes in the next song. I'm like, oh, I didn't type. And it feels more of like an extended intro for track number 4. Which I mean, I totally dig. I like that they split it up. But it was, I was amazed at how well they could do a track without vocals. Cause usually, bands are good at, a lot of bands are like one trick, they're really good at writing complete songs, but if you take any one of the elements out, they suddenly can't do it. But they did Barracuda, which granted I don't like, but a lot of listens would say otherwise. Love Alive is a nice kind of acoustic toned down thing, and then Sylvan Song doesn't have any vocals in it, which not many people do, especially on track number 3. So
yeah, and they pull it off handily. Like you said, the transition into track number 4, Dream of an Archer, which we might as well just talk with them in tandem, is like so smooth. They're basically two parts of the same song. They even have like the same through line in terms of like the instrumentation.
The same melody.
Yeah.
The word you're looking for.
And they're also got a distinct sound. I was looking into the instrumentation for these two songs, where it's basically there's acoustic, obviously, but there's a lot of mandolin. It's a mandolin-led song for both of them,
Hmm.
and it's also accompanied by something called a Moog bass or a Moog Taurus, which is like a foot-operated like bass synthesizer, which you kind of get in very small amounts.
Mm-hmm.
So it leads to a very distinct styling for these two songs in particular, just because they have such a unique instrumentation.
Yeah, it definitely. I had a hard time pinning down exactly what was going on, instrumental wise. And for Dream of the Archer, I definitely felt like it felt a lot more ethereal.
Oh, definitely.
Than previous songs. And this is another good example of instruments being used in separate ears well, because it kind of jumped back and forth, not super quickly, with a bit of acoustic between the ears, but it was slow enough that it worked.
Oh yeah, it's distinctly balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the, like I said, the medieval vibe with kind of these very heavenly vocals. It's a very like out of body type song, and also has a very good vocal performance on this. Her and her sister pair very well in terms of like acoustic energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. My one complaint is it didn't really progress. Again, that seems to be a common issue. Like it started out really good and really great. I loved it. But then it just kind of, it was what it was. And this one was a bit longer compared to other songs. So I would have just liked to see something that progressed it. I feel like they might have blown everything out in Sylvan Song, and then Dream of the Archer just kind of kept it pretty homogenous the whole way through.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they experiment a little bit with like almost like semitones or microtones, something like that. But yeah, I mean the mandolin through line or melody is the exact same for the entire song. Barracuda-esque, except this one's a lot softer, so it doesn't like grind into you as much. Yeah, their songs for the most part aren't like super. There's not like an overall arch, but they kind of are good at making strong foundations. It's just kind of going from there.
Yeah, it's like you're living in one of those cookie cutter neighborhoods, and somebody buys the lot next door, lays down the foundation, and then nothing else ever happens. It just stays that way forever.
I kind of think of it more as like a difference between like a chocolate chip cookie and like a sugar cookie, right? Sugar cookies are great, but like it's just very consistent, right? Each bite's going to be the same as the last.
Mm-hmm.
Our chocolate chips like, oh, okay. Oh, I got a little more chocolate in this one. Okay, this one's all cookie, a little more variation. Which, to be fair, the album itself has some variation in it, kind of switching between that harder rock and folk rock, which we actually get into in this next song, which is track number 5, "Kick It Out."
Yeah.
Where goes into this like Guitar Hero ass rock song.
I wrote down specifically it's definitely old school rock, and I wanted to see if you compared it to Sock Hop at the very start of it.
I did. I was going to. It's throwback.
I know you.
It's got some rockabilly persuasions.
I know you.
Which I don't care for. You know that. I don't care for those kind of stylings. It's definitely with that kind of plinky piano and that "kick it out," chorus.
Mm-hmm.
Is distinctly throwback. I mean, it's not like it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's like less than 3 minutes long, and does have a pretty good guitar solo at like the minute 45 mark. But yeah, I've never liked this styling, and Hart isn't about to change it. I mean, I guess it's unique that you don't get many female vocalists doing this kind of styling.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like Anne's voice, but yeah, not a fan of these kind of melodies, personally.
Yeah, I figured you'd say something like that. I should really add a rockabilly thing for command for you.
Lord. I mean, it's true. I don't know why they keep working in like... Why does every rock album from the 70s have to have like one mandatory rockabilly song?
Because it was popular, Cooper.
I know, but it shouldn't have been. Well, in the 70s, come on. That was like 15 years ago by then.
Yeah, people still liked it. That's the way it is. This one, again, I'm a broken record here, but it feels just flat overall. It's there. It's a song. It's got it always starts good, and the longer the song goes, I kind of just get disappointed. None of these are offensive to have on the background, but if you're analyzing them, there's no progression. It's the same at the start as is at the end. The only pass this one gets is it's a pretty short song, so it not growing at all I can forgive, since it's only like 2 minutes. Sometimes you have an idea, you're like, well, that works for 2 minutes. I don't really have anywhere to go with it, so let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I can respect that. They just kind of like, it's a little ditty. They're not trying to make a rockabilly epic here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the heart does have, at least on this album, a little case of like a little shallow in terms of song progression.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember. Did you say this was their first, or this was?
This is their second album.
Second. Okay, so still pretty early on.
Yeah. And that was actually, Kick It Out was actually another one of their lead singles. Yeah, imagine being the other lead single to Barracuda.
Well, I could think of some other lead singles on here that would be much better than Kick It Out, but
yeah, none of the acoustic stuff made it, which makes me sad.
Yeah.
Actually, our next track number 6, Little Queen, is also a lead single, and also the title track.
Yeah, this definitely deserves to be a lead single.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes long, so a sizable track, and it kind of goes. It's got this very distinct electric guitar riff that goes underneath it. It's a little more mellow, but also still keeps a little bit of the edge to it.
Mm-hmm. This one, I don't know. There's something about this. The way it started, or maybe I'm thinking of a different song. As I'm trying to read and talk at the same time here, which I said earlier I cannot do. I really appreciated how so far every song on this album has been different. But this one sounds familiar, like it's a pop trend of some kind. I don't know.
Well, like that lead riff going on?
Oh man, I cannot fucking read. Stop trying to talk and read at the same time. I need to read while you're talking and ignore what you're saying. What I wrote was, I appreciate that not all the songs sound the same, because sounding the same is a modern pop trend, I believe. I'm confusing I think I'm confusing Say Hello or something with what I'm trying to say now. Anyway, if I could read properly, which I can't, this one I felt like had the most heart put into it. Okay, that was... I did not mean to say that.
But you did.
I did not. This one has the most thought put into it. It already has so much more going on than previous songs. There's that... I don't know if you picked up on it, Cooper, but there's that like bass and guitar duet right before the chorus.
Yeah, it's kind of distinct. I don't remember hearing too many things that are like that.
Yeah, I
really
a lot of
character
like that.
In the song.
And then there's a couple. I think there's only 2 times, but the vocalist sings the same line, so it's a bass, vocalist, and guitar trio, and it just sounds amazing. I love it.
Oh yeah, the song's not like super in your face about it, but this is one of the songs on the album where like when you look into it, you're like, okay, they're doing a lot of interesting stuff under the hood.
Mm-hmm.
Like at like the 2-minute mark, it like kind of the heavier guitar line kind of gives way to Nancy's acoustic playing, pretty seamlessly. This is like the one song that like combines both the worlds here,
and
I think it with this like kind of almost ghostly backing vocals come in. And then like at like the 3:30 mark, it cuts back into the regular riff.
Yeah, I have to say that vocal breakdown section, I didn't really feel like it meshed well with the rest of the song for me. It's good in its own right. I like it. But the transitions into and out of it just were kind of awkward.
I can agree going out of it. I liked it a little bit more going into it, just because the acoustic just kind of stops and just goes ba-da-da-da and like goes right back into it.
Yeah.
I guess they could have been a little smoother, but I kind of respect that they they kind of like had this like weird like intermission in the middle before heading back into the song proper.
Yeah, I just wish those transitions were a bit cleaner, and maybe after you transition back into the main instruments and melody, maybe take a snippet of melody from that section, just so it feels like it's an isolated song inside.
It's like
of
a
the
connective
song.
tissue. Yeah,
exactly. It doesn't feel connected very well.
It does lead to a distinct like song structure though, where you don't like have as much of like a main chorus to like be anchored to, which I think works to its benefit on this one.
Yeah. I mean, it by and away, I think it's the best song on the album so far. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a worthy lead single.
Yeah, probably the most worthy lead single.
Well, numbers would disagree with you.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know why this isn't played and Barracuda is.
Would you believe that this song actually has less plays than Kick It Out?
That's stupid. Probably just because it's further up on the album than...
Yeah, literally.
Little Queen is. You ready to jump to track number 7 then?
Yeah, track number 7, which
Treat
is
Me Well.
Treat Me Well. This one's the sad song, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's like a softer acoustic ballad.
Yeah, it's much slower after a long, fast one to slow that down. Bring the mood down a little bit.
Yeah, break it down. And also introduces some piano as well. I believe that's this song.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was a different.
No, I believe it has piano on this one. What it does have, though, is it's got some nice strings in there. I really love those strings in the background. And they go really well. There's a very strong bass for most of this song. Even though it's slow, it's got a strong bass, which I like. That's it provides a very distinct sound and good contrast that kind of makes the song pop.
Pop. And it even has a little harmonica slips in there, too.
Mm-hmm.
Which is an interesting pairing right next up to the strings. But it works kind of in conveying the mood of this song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, the vocals leave a bit to be desired on this one. They're a little bit simplistic, but everything else going on, I think it just works just fine. This one has a lot going on in the background.
Yeah, I think the simplistic vocals are to their benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Anne was like belting out like on Barracuda,
true. that is very true.
So taking a backseat isn't too bad on this song.
Yeah, especially since they're actually going all over the place with instruments and trying new things. It was a nice little slow interlude.
Yeah, and it leads to track number 8, Say Hello. Which has this like live ambient street sound beginning.
Yeah, for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, like someone's like a street performer or something, because there's like the sound of money dropping and like a little applause and like street sounds. So I guess it's like, I suppose it's like setting up a story like they're being a street performer. I mean, it's not like that's kept throughout the entire song. It's just like a 30-second snippet.
Yeah, it doesn't really link at all. I'm not quite sure. I will say this one kind of is uncomfortably modern compared to the rest of the album. I don't know if it's maybe because musical trends are circling back around to this, but it was like, whoa, why is this sound so new?
I think it's just it's like the most upbeat song of the album.
Maybe that was
like
it.
The like very plucky acoustic vocals or stylings, and like this very energetic drumming in the backbeat makes it like a very just like happy-go-lucky kind of song.
Mm-hmm. It made me uncomfortable for the first until I got into it. I'm like, why does this sound so new? This is from the 70s.
I could see this, the instrumentation at least, I could see as being like a indie darling song.
Yeah.
I mean, Anne's vocals kind of bring it back to the 70s because they're a little smokier than like, modern female artists for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
At least popular music artists. But yeah, I totally feel what you mean with like, I put specifically, it has more of a quirky indie feel to it than like hard rock.
Yeah. I will say this one kind of stuck around a bit too long for the themes it had going. For the first 2 minutes, I think they should have cut that down, because at the last minute they throw in some heavy bass that really helps, and some chanting. But before that, the backing track is really simplistic and really repetitive vocals.
It's a very distinct backing track too.
Yeah,
it's almost
you
like
can
a
tell
little
when
too
it
sugary
loops.
sweet.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, after 2 minutes of that, I'm like, oh geez, how long have I been listening to this? Only 2 minutes? Are you serious? And the biggest disservice, right at the end, the drums go crazy as it's fading out.
Yeah, I also heard that. I'm like, and when we say fade out, we mean literally like it's like, you know, when they do the song fade, it's like halfway into like fading out, the drum just, it's like this guy's like being attacked by fire ants.
Yeah, I was like, why didn't we have that sooner? That would have made it so much better.
It also would have been super weird. I don't know why it was in the song. I mean, I'm kind of glad it's in the fade out, but it's such a like a weird placement of like, oh, this is like where the drummer decides to show off.
Yeah.
It's in the fade out of the like indie pop thing.
It was the last take of the day, and they didn't want to do another one, so he tried to screw it up. He just wanted to go crazy on it.
Just put in the fade out.
Yeah.
No one will notice.
We had another 2 minutes of that song, jackass. We'll just fade it out there. But yeah, I don't know. The 2 minutes of just the same thing over and over again, because it's not even a long, it's like 4 bars or something like that. It's not a long section that just loops.
Yeah. It's instrumentation's a little too sugary to be like sustainable, honestly.
Yeah. They tried to pull a Barracuda, and when you have a distinct marker for the loop, it kind of doesn't work.
Well, Barracuda kind of helps because it's like so gruff and kind of like energetic
Mm-hmm.
that it works. This one is like too, like I said, too sweet to like be palatable for too long. But you know, there's something different. I'll give it that.
Yeah, and I liked it at the start, but somehow it lost me.
It then moves on to track number 9, which is "Cry to Me," which is, you know, I'm gonna say this album overall, whether, you know, there's been some duds here or there,
Mm-hmm.
but each song is pretty interesting, is bringing something new to the table.
Pretty unique.
I'll give Hart 100% credit on this, where each song is distinctly different while still, you know, being a recognizable Hart song.
Unless they're meant to be linked together.
Oh yeah, unless it's like Sylvan Song and like Dream of the Archer, where
Or
they're obviously
Cry to Me,
you know,
and Go On Cry.
yeah. So, but Cry to Me is like kind of uninteresting.
Really, I really appreciated the fact that they went back to the acoustic without drums, because that is something that's hard to make sound good. And they did the 2 layered acoustic guitars, which I thought sounded really good. And it's got simple lyrics for a simple song, and it knows what it is and sticks around a very short amount of time. So they had an idea. They're like, hey, let's do this. It's a little simple, so we'll keep it short. I think it was a good song.
Yeah, I just feel like it doesn't, for the album, it just feels like a lesser like Love Alive, Sylvan Song, Dream of an Archer, right? Or like it's just, I mean, I guess it does lead a little bit into track number 10, but that's already a 6-minute song, and it does a lot more interesting things than this song does. So this one just feels like, compared to the rest of its album, it just feels very unnecessary. At least the other songs, I could say they're, you know, they're trying something. This one, you know, it's nice. What's the word? Acoustic. You know, that's very nice. Anne and Nancy are delivering as always on this song.
Mm-hmm.
But it just didn't do anything for me. Like emotionally, I was kind of glazing over in terms of like what it offered. So it's not like bad or unlistenable. It just I didn't care for how samey it kind of felt.
Oh, fair enough. I gave it a pass since it was so short, and plus I was digging the layered acoustic. But then again, I've been listening to a lot of acoustic recently, so
America,
just on repeat over and over.
Such a good album.
Jumping to track number 10, then.
Go On Cry, which is the last and longest song on the album. And this one's also probably the most electronic, at least in the first parts.
Yeah, kinda. It faded into the song, which I wasn't expecting. Which was a kind of nice switch up.
It's got this kind of like prolonged intro, which is distinctly mellow and almost a little like dystopian. No, that's kind of the vibe I got from that like electric guitar line.
Mm-hmm.
This very light synth just kind of floating underneath it.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole thing just kind of feels like the outro because there's not really much vocals going on, and it's just just calm, calm for the intro, and then it gears up.
Yeah, those drums bust in. Those drums bust in at like around the 1 minute mark, and then it opens up a bit,
mm-hmm.
and it starts to layer itself a little bit more, where like these kind of ghostly vocals come in.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes almost like rock ballad-esque in performance. It's a very, very nice vibe. I think it sets up.
Yeah, I think it's just a pleasant song. It's got the slow, fast, slow, because you don't want to end the album on fast, because then you're leaving people raring, but you don't want to end it on a 6-minute slow song, because then they're falling asleep. I don't know. It's just a pleasant little thing. And plus,
I think it could.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I think it could have done without like the last cycle of fast to slow.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I'm like, okay, they kind of showed us what they got for the song. Like it was more of like a 4-minute song because it kind of has this like guitar performance, which is pretty electrifying, and then it goes back to slow, and then it like kind of fades out to these wind chimes, which is nice.
Oh, I love the chimes specifically. The fact that they stick around for a second longer than everything else. Oh, great.
Oh yeah. But I feel like they could have truncated the song just a little bit.
I mean, the album's only 39 minutes long.
Yeah, so it's not a long album. I just feel the song had a little extra fat than it needed, but it was also a very pleasant song that kind of switched between the low and high energies, which I appreciated.
Yeah, it's a nice little ditty. I didn't have much for this one.
It was definitely a worthy outro track, I think.
Yeah. It was made to be an outro track, that's for sure.
It's barely got any, at least like lyrical vocals by Anne.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, she does a lot of backing singing and kind of just general singing, yelling, but no real like vocals. Which also I like. I like how she kind of uses her vocals as like another instrument on this song.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Overall, good outro.
Very good outro. And that's the end of the album.
Yeah, it's a tight 10 tracks.
Yeah, very tight. So, Cooper, what would you say your favorite track on the album is?
I'd probably have to say it's that span of like Love Alive to Dream of the Archer. Like that 3-track swing is extremely pleasant. Nancy well earns her spot as being the other front man of the band just because her acoustic guitar playing is so pleasant. And while, it may not be the deepest songs in terms of progression, I think they introduce like just a kind of an interesting folk rock take, especially paired with Anne's vocal delivery. And overall, they're just extremely pleasant listens. And I just love that Sylvan Song's just a great instrumental piece. It leads into the next song that I just really vibe with it. What about yourself, Sam?
I think I'm going to have to go with Little Queen. I just like it. It's good. It probably has the most going on out of any songs on the album. It's got that weird vocal breakdown thing that I'm not a fan of, but compared to anything else, I think it's standalone, it's probably the strongest.
Yeah, it's probably the deepest song in terms of actual progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame it's a lesser known song.
Especially since it's the title track, too. That's the weird part.
Yeah. And one of the lead singles.
Yeah. So, Cooper, what would you say your least favorite track is? Can I guess what your least favorite track is before you say it?
You can.
Kick It Out.
Yeah, that's one of them. Okay. I give it slight points for trying something that wasn't on the rest of the album. Even though I don't think it was a necessary experimentation. I also don't care too much for Cry to Me. Like I said, I don't think it introduces... It's like the opposite. Kick It Out was like just a weird wheelhouse thing that wasn't like necessary. And Cry to Me was a little too lesser compared to the other songs for me to really care for it or get emotionally attached to it in any capacity. I mean, it's already a pretty short album at like 39 minutes. But if there's 2 songs I'd remove, it'd be those 2. So, what about you, Sam?
Oh, I think I'm gonna have to say kick
You're
it out.
gonna say it. You're gonna say it.
Yeah. Either Kick It Out or Dream of the Archer, because Dream of the Archer is good, but I feel like this album really suffers because there is no song progression whatsoever. Like the only one that has some is Little Queen. Everything else, and Cry on Me, Go on Cry.
Cry, yeah.
Everything else is just flat, which, I mean, it worked for Barracuda somehow. So maybe they're trying it with everything else as well, but it's just a very flat album, and it's definitely you can see the potential. That's the biggest issue. You're like, if you just did this sooner, it just changes a tiny little bit. You already did it, you just did it too late. So
the foundation is super solid.
Yeah,
just some of the trimmings that could have been fleshed out.
And I mean, it's the second album, so you got it. You hate to see it. I'll put it that way. But probably
Heart certainly had enough albums.
Yeah.
This is like their second of like 15.
Wow.
So.
And the only one I've ever heard is Barracuda. So.
I mean, yeah, they've been releasing albums pretty consistently since 77. So.
Yeah.
All the way up to 2016. So.
It's a lot of albums.
Yeah, they're still at it. Yeah, Sam, what would you say is your overall impression of this album? What's its rating?
Well, getting into the rating text. Sorry, I clicked the button as I was saying that, so I read my caption for it. Getting into the rating system we have on Audio Shop. We like to rate things at a 1 out of 5 to a 5 out of 5 rating, but we gave them some fun names, since we're a car-themed podcast. Because Cooper and I have both been hermits for our entire lives, and I've heard of these magical beasts called cars that teleport you anywhere in the world, and we'd like to meet one someday.
I'm pretty sure they contain the souls of horses to fuel them.
Yeah. Every time you teleport, it uses the soul of an orphan as well, I heard.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, sorry, that was the heart of an orphan. That's my bad.
Oh.
And top of the top is Showroom. That's the best of the best. You love it no matter what. Everybody should listen to this. And then you got 1 out of 5, which is Scrapyard, bottom of the barrel. You couldn't pay somebody to take it away. Get it away from me. It's awful. For me, I think I'm going to give this one a like new, just a flat. It may be actually probably low. Maybe it deserves a high fixer-upper now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more. But I don't know. It has you can see the potential, but it doesn't carry through. But if you're just listening to it, it's a perfect album to have on the background. Maybe not while you're driving. You might get a little sleepy, but if you just need some background music, it's pretty chill. Definitely don't listen too close. I'd definitely say that. What about you, Cooper?
I'm basically exactly in the same boat, where this is like the perfect, pretty good album. I have to say, like it's like it was released in 77, and that's probably like the grade I'd give it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a 77%, where it's like it's not like super remarkable. No one's gonna go, oh man, have you heard Little Queen?
Mm-hmm.
But it also does enough like novel things and has like a lot of really good instrumentation and vocal delivery that it sits on being something that I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend. But if someone said it, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a good album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
so.
I couldn't sum it up better.
I'm pretty much sitting exactly in like probably a low like new or like a very high fixer upper.
Well, you gotta click. You gotta pick one because I gotta click this button.
I'll say low like new. I'll agree with you on that one. Because talking through it, I really have to give it points for how varied the songs are. In terms of like they lack song progression, but album progression is pretty good on this one. Like song to song, it changes it up enough.
Mm-hmm.
It just these little things here and there, a couple songs here and there that just don't click or just don't work. That make me feel like it's like it could have been great, but right now it's just like pretty all right, to pretty good. So certainly something that I'd recommend to people, but not something that would like be on my top of my mind for it.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I'd actively recommend this to people, so maybe it deserves a fixer-upper, but I'll leave it as is.
I liked it. Like
like you said, if somebody said, "Hey, do you know any Heart albums?" and I was like, "Oh yeah, I know Little Queen. What do you think?" It's good. If somebody brought it up, but if somebody's like, "Hey, do you have any music that you suggest listening to?" I wouldn't say, "Oh, you should listen to Little Queen by Heart."
It really straddles the line between like not quite mediocre, but it's not like mediocre, but it's not distinctly good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But certainly it's obviously that makes it sound pretty bad. Like it's forgettable. I don't think it's forgettable. It's got some unique elements.
I would argue it is forgettable.
I think in terms of like the acoustic unit. Plus Barracuda, Sam. How could you forget that bass line?
God, I wish I could forget Barracuda. Maybe I should knock it down more just because of Barracuda.
Hey, just because you think of Eye of the Tiger for some reason for that song, that's not its fault.
I just don't like Barracuda. I don't like any of those songs. So anyway, that's the end of the album. Thank you so much for listening. Now we're going to roll on over to the spare tire, which is basically just whatever we've been listening to. And we have, I guess it's only been a week since we did the recap last time. But what have you been listening to this week, Cooper?
I listened through an album you might have heard of called Tubular Bells. You familiar with that one? It's the one with the cover with the twisted like metal tube on it.
Tubular Bells?
Tubular Bells.
Never heard of that. Who's it by?
It's by Mike Oldfield.
Never heard of him.
It's kind of famous. Basically, the backstory to this is, first off, it was like a very weird, obscure album because it's like 4 songs that are all like 10 minutes or like 10 to 20 minutes long.
Okay.
It's like basically vocalist. It's all instrumentation. But there's a lot of very interesting electronic and guitar work in it. It's like very experimental. And no one paid attention to it when it was released until the first part of the first song was used as the theme for The Exorcist. You know that movie, the da 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 at the beginning. You'd recognize it.
I've never actually seen The Exorcist. I'd probably recognize it if I heard it, but
you definitely recognize the theme. And this album like popped off because everyone watched The Exorcist. It was super spooky, and it's actually a fantastic album in its own right. It's done things that you still don't really hear that much. And while I'll admit, it gets kind of a little too weird in the back half where some of the vocal stylings kind of get wonky. But the first 2 songs, which is the first half of the album, is very interesting. And in terms of just like having something instrumental on the background, I think it's an interesting listen. Plus, this guy's been trying to perfect it for he released this in the late 70s, and he's been trying to perfect it for 40 years.
Jesus.
Because he released a Tubular Bells 2, a Tubular Bells 3, and 2006 he just literally redid Tubular Bells. He re-recorded everything on it, but it's the same songs. Yeah, Mike's going through the interview, he's I'm basically trying to perfect this album. I'm like, hey, well, power to you. I think he did pretty good on his first track.
Well, art's never done until you hate it.
Apparently. I mean, Mike apparently doesn't hate Tubular Bells yet. What about you, Sam?
I have been listening to the same things as always.
Living on the riverside.
I've been listening to America. I've been listening to probably way too much Armchair Theater by Jeff Lynne. I listened through Time again, of course.
Of course.
I listened to Bop, Balance of Power.
Don't tell me that you think it's better now.
No, I mean, I like every song in its own right, but if I listen to it, I'll listen to Heaven Only Knows because that is a banger of a song. And then I'll skip to Calling America, and then that'll be it. The rest of the songs are good, but it's I just want to listen to Heaven Only Knows and Calling America. So
okay.
Calling America is the best song on that album.
Fair.
But yeah, I've just been listening to the same things over.
American ELO.
ELO. Well, Jeff Lynne, because holy crap, Save Me Now. Every Little Thing is great. Save Me Now is great. It's a little environmental piece
Oh.
Singing about the earth. Blown Away is amazing. Stormy Weather's that great cover from a song from 1943 or whatever.
An oldie.
There's a couple stinkers on there. Nobody Home. Dude, Nobody Home's been stuck in my head because it's got such a great line. Because at first he's talking about, like, yeah, from there's no lights in your house and your curtains never move, so I can tell that you're not home. But then the next chorus is like, from that look in your eyes, I can tell that nobody's in there. I'm like, ooh, that's hot, Jeff. That's hot.
Jeff, the lyricist. I love that one lyric of his about being at the stadium with his friend Ted or something.
I fucking hate From Out of Nowhere had so much potential, but then there's that fucking. Honestly, it's just that song is just hey Jeff, we need a montage song for the tour, the 2018 tour. What do you want us to use? Oh, here, I'll write one. It has some moments of genius in it, but then the lyricism in that one is utter shit. It's the worst lyricism in any song. Went down to London town.
If you listen, I'm sure if you listen to it enough, you'll fall in love with it.
No.
Not even that one.
The thing is, I love he's got a guitar riff from, I can't even remember what song it is, but he took a guitar riff from Telephone Line and put it into the melody. And then there was a solo from another song, and just combining like the best parts of different songs, but then the lyrics for it are crap. 60,000 mobile phones.
Hey, it's hard to write a lot of songs. Eventually, you're just run out of words to say.
This is the worst one.
Yeah, well, maybe his next album, he'll get a little more creative. Come on, Jeff, you
We'll
got one more left in you.
We'll see.
All right, well, I think that's it for today.
Yeah, the podcast went on for almost twice as long as the album was. So
that's true. You have a lot of heart.
All right.
But yeah, if you want to listen to keep up to date with what we got to say, you can always follow us at AudioShop14. We'll let you know what we're listening to and when we're going to go on. Or drop a recommendation in the recommendation box below.
Yeah, on Twitch. And if you're listening on Twitch and you like what you hear, head on over to YouTube, and all the past ones are up there. I still haven't made the one from last week public yet, so that's my bad. I'll do that tonight. Or I probably won't. I'll probably forget. We'll see. And if you're listening on YouTube and you like what you hear, we're live usually on Sundays at 6. I was reading
8.
I was reading Jonah's number of people in his chat at the moment.
And you really can't. You just read whatever you see. It's
yeah,
like
I do. I just say it. But we're live Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern. So hop on into chat. There's been some good poking fun at me mainly tonight. So
yeah. So we hope you join again next week.
Yeah. Have a good week. See you later, shoppies.
See ya.
See ya.